Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha, Tvameva Vedya Dravinam, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stithani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So we finished our story of Bushunda, the ancient crow. And I think tonight we start a new section, a new chapter. And will you chant for us, Puneet?
Sure.
Mark, can you refresh our memory where we are in the text?
Yeah, it's page 226, starting chapter 22.
226, chapter 22.
Dvavinshav Sargah, chapter 22. Devarcha Navidhanam, the manner of worshipping the deity. Section 1. Vidhana Prashnaha, the question on the manner. Vasishtha Uvacha Abhasa Matrame Vedam Ityatham Samprati Bhasate Ayam Namaha Mityantaha Asadeva Shrirakam. Vasishtha said, this world is only a mere appearance that now shines in this manner. The body which feels within, I am the one with this name, is only non-existent.
Yes. So, Yoga Vasishtha, just to review, deals with 3 questions. First, Koham, who am I? 2, what is this world? 3, how has it come about? Why do we deal with that? Because it looks like I'm a person inside my body, and the world of name and form appears separate from me. It has cause and effect in it. Seeds create plants. Tesla builds batteries. The government creates taxes, cause and effect. That's where I think how things come about. And it looks like a dualistic world, good and bad, hot and cold, right and wrong, and most importantly, I and other. And the scripture thunders, it looks like two, but it's not two. And the way to understand this is go to our direct experience. So we're going to look at two things. We've done this several times. The world of imagination and the world of dream. So if you were to close your eyes and visualize an elephant, you have an Indian elephant or an African elephant. Does it have big tusks? Does it have a seat for a Raja on top, perhaps? Is your elephant pooping? Now, in the world of your imagination, there's you and the elephant. But what's your elephant made up out of? Well, imagination. What's imagination made up out of? Well, it's the stuff of the mind. Well, is the stuff of the mind anything other than you? So we see consciousness has this amazing property. Macrocosmically, we call it Maya Shakti, to seemingly fork into subject and object. Now, if you visualize a pea instead of an elephant, or you visualize a mountain instead of the elephant, it doesn't take less of you to visualize the pea, and it doesn't take more of you to visualize the mountain. So you are kutusta. You are stable, still, immovable, established. And it's the objects that I imagine that seem to change, the nama rupa, the names and forms. Now, what is the difference between the world of your imagination and a dream? Listen carefully. The first thing that happens when you go to bed at night is you fall asleep. One of the ways we can look at the deep sleep state is the non-apprehension of myself as the waker. What do I know in deep sleep? Nothing. Pure ignorance. But then, within sleep, the mind projects the dream world. Let's say you dream you're back in India, in Rajasthan. You've gone to one of the palaces, with a group of tourists. There's these big elephants. All of a sudden, there you are getting on top of the elephant in your dream. What's the difference between the elephant of your dream and the elephant of your imagination? Both are simply the mind's creations. But in the dream state, I have Avarana Shakti, veiling power. I do not know that I'm dreaming. Vikshepa Shakti, then when the mind projects the imagination, I think it's real. So you are the God of your dream. The same process is how the infinite brings about this world of name and form. So first, Maya Shakti. There's an apparent covering of the infinite. meaning all the beings in the world do not know. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Minds project name and form. And I think I'm the body. The body plus the personality. I think that world out there is solid and real. Most importantly, joy-giving and misery producing. This process whereby imagination comes about is by means of sankalpa, an almost untranslatable word, wish, will, thought, intention. It is the process whereby a thought, a vritti, tends towards grossification and seems solid, real, and other. So here Vasishtha is starting out by saying, what's real? You. Still the mind, introvert the attentive faculty, notice the knower. All that's there is chidakasha, the space of pure awareness. You can't find the person. Now, yet I see a world of name and form. That doesn't mean it's real. Train tracks meeting in the distance, seen but not real. Ocean liners falling off the edge of the world, seen but not real. It's just the horizon. Puffy castles in the clouds, seen but not real. Vyavahara happens all the time. Of interactions. So we start with at least being open to the idea that this world of name and form is not what's causing my mind states. I'm unhappy because people, places, things, and conditions. Oh, I'm so overjoyed because of people, places, things, and conditions. It's because I have a particular mind state that I perceive a world that's joy-giving or misery-producing. Swami Tejo Mayananda always used to say, do you know how to get rid of your worries? Quit worrying. Don't create a negative sankalpa. We have far more freedom than we think. In the end, for the woman or man of steady wisdom, the whole world's like a movie, like a hologram. No longer has the power to rob us of our peace. Any thoughts on this before we go on? Next verse.
Mukha talpagato yena swapnadehena diktatan paribhramati he Rama sadehata kwa sanstitaha. O Rama, resting on a comfortable bed, You wander about the various directions of space with the dream body. Where is that body of yours situated?
Yes. So here he's riffing on exactly what I was talking about. Vasishtha says to Rama, you lie down in your bed at night, and then you have a dream body and you go hither and yon. There's an interesting question here. I was talking with a student earlier in the day, and he was saying, well, do you have to believe in reincarnation to do Vedanta? One teacher said, oh, you have to believe in it. You have to believe in it. Otherwise, you won't have the motivation to gather the punya, to come back in another life, do the sadhana. And actually, that's not what Vedanta teaches. Let me see if I can give you a sense of this. Do you incarnate into a dream? Are you in the dream, or is the dream in you? Well, it feels like I'm in the dream. Feels like I'm in my dream body, and here I am riding this big old elephant. And it takes off, we can't control it. Oh, I'm gonna die. Seems so real. I'm in my body. I'm on top of the elephant. I wake up. Now, Krishna says the same thing in Gita. In an early chapter, he says, all this is strung on me like gems on a thread, Mani Sutre. And in the 11th chapter, he says, well, actually, I am not in them. They are in me. Meaning this whole creation is in consciousness. And he goes on to say, well, actually, they're not really in me. Behold my divine Maya, the support of it all. So is the dream really in you? If you dream that you've been riding an elephant in Rajasthan, you don't wake up with an elephant in bed next to you. It's not really there. So this is what the scripture thunders. All this phenomenal world is like a very long and very vivid dream. Now listen carefully. The shift from the dreamer ego to the waker ego is a gross shift. Alarm rings. Oh, golly, what a vivid dream. Whew, God. The shift between egoism and the knowledge that I am Brahman is a very subtle shift. It's profound. What do I mean by that? You may be right now identified with Jiva Bhava, the beatitude, feeling I'm a person. I don't know if I'm understanding this, or oh, what's he talking about dreams for? Did I turn the stove off? Blah, 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 blah. But if you just tune up the mind for a moment, look within. Don't look at things inside, but see if you can intuit, apprehend, get the sense of his Who knows the thoughts and even the space between the thoughts? You see, there's no person there. Where did he go? False. So there's this shift in identity from ahankara, egoism, asmita, jiva bhavana, has many names. The phony self, the counterfeit self, the shadow self, the personal sense of self. But if you look for it, it falls. What's there is Paramatma, the real self. What is its nature? Sat just is. Chit shines as awareness. Ah, no sorrow reaches there. And eventually we learn that when the mind can abide in the self, it's the source, it's the fountainhead of all bliss. That's why we call it bliss absolute. It's Purushottama, the supreme essence of what makes you a conscious living being. But it's not individual. Or if we want to say individual, there's only one of us here. What is this world of name and form? It's beautiful, infinitely varied, always changing. Not substantial. It's really there's next verse.
Jagarayam mano rajye yena swarga purantaram paribhrahmasi me ramva sadeha te kva sanstitaha. In the waking state, in the kingdom of the fancy, or while building castles in the air, you wander about inside the heavenly city or in the Meru mountain. Where is that body of yours situated?
So, some of us have a vivid imagination. We're getting lost in fantasies. Maybe you love to read trashy fiction. I'm reading a whodunit right now, Louise Penny. A whole world she creates in this village, Three Pines in Quebec. Others may get into these virtual realities. You create an avatar, a character, play games. You like video games. We have all sorts of modern ways to do exactly what this book, 1,000 years old or more, is talking about. But if you're having a fancy, an imagination, where does it take place? Or here's one a lot of us do. There's a term in French called esprit d'escalier, the spirit of the staircase. What it means, you have an argument with someone and they storm out, and as you've gotten ready for bed and you're going up the stairs, you start thinking of what you could have said, what you should have said. You're having conversations with people who aren't in the room. Or a lot of people, they have those dialogues in the shower. There's going to be a meeting with a worker or a boss at the office. The dialogue, the potential conversations going on in your mind. Any of you do that? Do you do that? Where is the body that's having that conversation with the boss? All in the mind. Seen. Next verse.
Dirghaswapna imam vidhi dirgham va chitta vibhramam dirgham vapi manorajyam sansaram raghunandanam. Rama, understand this course of worldly existence as a long dream or a long delusion of the mind or a long-lasting kingdom of fancy or castle in the air.
So the scripture thunders. This world is like a long dream, or like a fancy, or an imagination. Adi Shankara says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real. Jagat, the phenomenal world, meaning anything in the physical world, any emotion, any thought, any memory, any image, mithya, illusion. Vaipatya, false. Pratibimba, like the reflection in a mirror. Seen, but not like mirage waters in a desert. So what? What do we do with that? Don't worry. Take it easy. It's all going to be okay. Any thoughts on this? Now you know where I get all my examples and stuff like that. I really don't make them up. I shamelessly steal them. They come right from the Yoga Vasishtha. Next one.
Param paurushamas thaya balam pragnya cha yuktitah nabhim samsara chakrasya chittameva nirodhayet. Resorting to the best of human effort, strength, and intelligence, restrain only the mind, which is the nave of the wheel of worldly existence by suitable means.
So the Karma Chakra, Sansara Chakra, Jagat Chakra, the wheel of worldly existence, goes by many names. What's the hub, the navel of it, around which it all spins? Sankalpa, the imagination of the mind. Now, those of us who've studied Yoga Sutra, I think it's number 2 in the first chapter. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So he's used the same word that Patanjali uses, to restrain. Restrain the vrittis. The mind is the world is the mind. if you restrain the mind, the world disappears. So this is a reference to the yogi's practice, dharana, concentration, jnana, deep, intense meditation, samadhi, absolute equanimity of mind, no perturbation. But we jnanis look at it with an additional viewpoint. How difficult is it to hold back the floodwaters of the mirage in the desert? So you're driving along the desert, see water ahead of you. Oh my God, somebody ought to build a dam or turn off the valves so I can drive through. How do you restrain the water so you can drive through the flood? As you keep driving, you see it's a mirage. So you see, you have restrained the waters by seeing that it's not real. So for the jnani, they are not dependent on the mind state of samadhi. Samadhi can be very useful. When we study Vivekachudamani, Shankara talks about the value of samadhi. But there's what we call sahaja samadhi, natural or continuous samadhi, which is rooted in knowledge. It's when I deeply grasp the fundamental unreality of the world and the mind. Then it's restrained by insight. It's effortless, continuous, not by huffing and puffing and holding your breath and doing the bunges and things like that. I'm not saying that that's not efficacious. One of the things I love about this text is it gives equal weight to Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga. But the way to permanently restrain the mind is to see the unreality of the world and the unreality of the mind that's produced. Any thoughts on this? So I'm going to give you.
Jim, sorry, could you last, you said to see the fundamental unreality of the world, and what was the last part you said, and the mind's what?
And see the fundamental unreality of the mind itself.
I see. All right. Sorry, I couldn't hear that one. Thank you.
These are the little practices to take up. I have no thoughts or feelings of my own. I am independent of all thoughts and feelings. So I've had was that Fang who asked the question?
Yes, Jim.
Yes. So you and I have talked about the issue of being sensitive, that the more you meditate and the emptier you get, the more you feel the thoughts and feelings of others. So is the feeling coming from your own karmic stream, or are you tuning into someone else? In the end, it doesn't matter. I have no thoughts or feelings of my own. I am not touched by any of it. There's nothing to do. If you look on YouTube and you see a scary snake, it can't hurt you. It's not real. That's the world. That's the world. I cannot think a real thought. I have no thoughts and feelings of my own. I am asangaha, unattached to any other. Don't do battle with the mind. Get out. But you and I, it's like we're putting on our virtual reality goggles and we're in a game where there you are with your lightsaber fighting Darth Vader and you're going like this. Boy, he sure looks real with your virtual reality glasses on. But someone outside sees your hands just going in thin air because there's nothing really there. So is this world. Does that make it a little clearer, Fang?
Yes, Jim, thank you.
All right, next verse.
Prajna saujanya-yuktena shastra-sambhalitena cha paurushena na yat-praptam na tat-kvachana labhyate. That which is not obtained by human effort, accompanied by intelligence and goodness, and associated with or guided by the scriptures, is not acquired anywhere.
Yes. So armchair grace doesn't work. Oh, I've invoked Shirdi Sai Baba. He's my guru. I'm just going to sit here and he's going to do all the work. Well, he dead. Can't help you today. We must do the work ourselves. What is the work that needs to be done? First, acquire the qualifications of the fit student, become adhikari. Viveka, vairagya, samadhi guna, mumukshutva. We've gone through these many, many times. Discrimination, dispassion, qualities of shama, etc. Burning desire for liberation. Then we engage deeply, constant practice of discrimination between the self and the not self, the subject and all the objects. Drishya viveka. Until you're very clear, I'm the witness, just the witness. Then we move into the next stage of the process. Well, what about this not self? Actually, the not self is Brahman. What I see as the not self is just this play of name and form. Then many of us at this point are having some real glimpses, experiences into the infinite. Oh, I get it, Jim. I see in my deep meditation or when I'm in class. There's nothing there. Get it. Oh, but then I get out there in the world and my husband or my wife yells at me and I get all triggered. Or I have a bad day at the office and I get all triggered. Or my 401k or my IRA tanks and I'm all upset. Or I go shopping and all of a sudden it's half again as much as it was a year ago for the same groceries. Whoa. What's the problem? How do I re-identify what happened? Sound familiar? So this is what Shankara says. It's in 267 in Vivekachudamani, one of my favorite verses. Even after realization of the truth, meaning I've heard it in the scripture, I've heard it from the guru, I've had a bit of a taste of it. There exists a strong impression that one is the doer and enjoyer. Karta Bhokta Ch. Karta, doer. Bhokta, translated as enjoyer, better in this context, experiencer. So in Vedanta, you can enjoy good things and enjoy misery too. And then he says, it is the cause for rebirth. That doesn't mean I'm going to come back next lifetime as a lizard. It means I re-identify. All of a sudden, I think I am a person. And as soon as I think I'm a person, I got some goal. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. I either need to fix the world or fix me. And this is serious business, this struggle. I have goals. I have ambitions. I've got a business plan for life. That's serious stuff. So this deep impression that I am the doer is the cause for re-identification. And Shankara says this needs to be conscientiously rooted out. How? Through steady and continuous identification with the self. Exactly what the verses say. Our own self-effort. If I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the klesha, the affliction. I'm the one with the sangraha, the attachment. I'm the one with asmita, identification. As soon as it happens, koham, who am I? Drop the struggle of ego and turn your attention and your energy to yourself, the self, all day long. Then Shankara goes on in this verse to say it's the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that's considered liberation by the wise. Meaning, when we give up finally our attachment to everything and our identification, any form of self, then wisdom is steady. Now, what keeps us from the steady wisdom? I am unwilling to let go of my attachment to the world. Doesn't mean you need to leave the world. But you know when you have attachment. It may be to the approval of others. It may be having a significant other if you're single. It may be your children. Maybe having children. Maybe the body itself, most likely. All of it has to go. That's the price tag for steady wisdom. You can't remove the delusion of the snake and see the rope as long as you keep smooching that snake. As long as you keep taking the snake as real. Don't worry. Go ahead, go after the world. And let the world show you that it's fundamentally temporary, finite. And the more I get attached to the things of this world, the more I suffer. Sargadatta Maharaj says, enjoyment and suffering are the same thing. It's like a coin. Oh, I only want coins with heads, no tails. Somebody to saw off all the tails. You get a coin, one side's heads, the other side's tails. If I dance with the world egoistically, I am an individual, that stuff makes me happy. I want to go do it again. Been hooked like the fish on a hook. Suffering will come. It has to. Because the world is finite and changing. And your mind, is always changing. The world has the law of diminishing return. The first spoonful of ice cream is fabulous. If I eat the entire half gallon, whoa. It's the world. Krishna in the Gita says, no one is more fearful than a wealthy person. Always found that interesting. You have a whole lot of money, well, you got to worry that someone's going to be after it. You ever known any really mega rich people? It's very interesting. If you just kind of like stand back and watch them through the world. They're always afraid someone's gonna hit them up for money. People do. All right, next verse.
Chitta yaksha drida kantam na shastrani na bandhavaha Shakruvanti paritrantu guruvo na cha manavam. Neither the scriptures, nor kinsmen, nor even spiritual preceptors are able to save the man who has been seized or taken possession of by the ghost of the mind.
Yes. So, as long as you take the mind as real, remember, the mind here is those three thoughts we've talked about. I think I'm a person, I've got a goal, and I have to furrow towards that goal. That's the mind. But as long as you hold on to that, believe it. renounce the mind itself. No thought of self is real. This world, seen, are trinkets and baubles at best. What's real? You are real. Brahma Satya. Brahman is real. I am Atma, Brahma. This self is Brahman. Next verse.
Samshanti chittavetalam guru shastra artha bandhavaha chakruvanti samudhyatyum swalpa pankat mrigam yatha. The spiritual preceptor, the substance of the scriptures, and the kinsman are able to lift up or save the person whose goblin mind has been extinguished or stilled, just as a deer could be saved from very little mire.
Yes. So the image here is if an animal, a deer or a horse or anything like that, falls into very deep mud, it could die. You can go onto YouTube and you can see really sad videos of mother elephants trying to save their babies that are caught in mud. But if it's just a little bit of mud, you can save it. So the rangers come and they rescue the baby elephant. So if you have what the Buddha said, just a little dust on the eyes, then the Guru, the scriptures, family can help. So I have this student. I don't see him very frequently. I first met him a year ago, August. Lives in New York, comes all the way out here to see me. But he's on fire. Meditates hours, does retreats. He's off to India to do a 3-year Vedanta course. He says, "Oh, Jim, you've helped me so much, blah, blah, blah." No. All I do is say, let's look at this scripture. Let's meditate together. Tune up together. Why? He has the Purushartha. He has the self-effort to do the work. But some of us have half-hearted aspirations. World is more important. Draws us away from our son. Shankara will say in Vivekachudamani, success in spiritual endeavors is entirely due to the degree of the qualifications of a fit student. Other factors such as time and place, and I will even say the Guru, while helpful, are fundamentally secondary. In Gita, Krishna says, a man, a person, raises himself by himself into the sun. Let him not lower himself. It's those of us who, for a variety of reasons, lose steadfastness on the path. Stay with it. I'm the first to tell you I'm a crappy yogi. It lots of mistakes, lots of detours. I keep coming back. Consistency, steadfastness. Keep on keeping on. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Atrimam aparadrishtim mahamoha vinashinim shrinuya kathita purvam mahyam ardhendu maulina. In this matter, hear another view or knowledge destructive of great delusion, which was formerly narrated to me by Lord Shiva, or the god bearing the crescent of the moon on his head.
So, vinashaha, to destroy mahamoha, is that what he said?
Yeah.
The great delusion. So, let's hear what the story is going on.
Kadachit jahvavi tire sthitoham pujayan shivam tada shravana pakshasya bahulasya shtamedine apashyam kanane teja chandrabimba ganopamam yavat pashyami tam desham prapta chandra kaladharah gauri kara pitakaro nandi prot sari tagranaha. Once upon a time, I lived on the bank of the river Janvi or Ganga, worshipping God Shiva. Then, on the 8th lunar day of the dark half of the lunar month of Shravana, I saw in the forest a lustre similar in appearance to a multitude of moon discs. As soon as I saw that, Lord Shiva, who wears the crescent of the moon, arrived at that place with his hand joined with the hand of his consort Gauri and marching ahead, led forward by his attendant Nandi.
So, he has this incredible vision, procession of Lord Shiva and his consort. Let's see what happens.
Ardhyam pushpam tatha pathyam abhyupetya pitam maya namaskarai tatha stotrai deviyu tashivauchitai pujante ma uvachedam atishitalaya gira. Having gone near him, respectful offerings of water and flower were given by me, and God Shiva, accompanied by the goddess Gauri, was worshipped by me through respectful salutations and hymns of praise.
So,
And at the end of the worship, God Shiva told me this through very cool words.
So Lord Shiva shows up, he does the appropriate respect that you would do if the god happened to show up. And then this is what Lord Shiva says to you.
Kaschit tapaste nirvignam kim prapyam praptavanasi ityuktena maya proktam swadanu smarane sati kuto vigna natu dushprapam kuvi kinchana vidyate apavarga puradvaram swadanu smaranam vibho. I hope that your religious austerity is free from impediments. Have you obtained what is fit to be obtained? Thus addressed, I spoke as follows. When there is your remembrance, from where could there be impediment? Then there is nothing whatever hard to get in the world. Lord, Remembering you is the passage to the city of fulfillment or final beatitude.
Yes. So in this flowery language, basically he's saying, Lord Shiva says, how you doing? How's your sadhana going? He says, if I constantly remember you, how can there be any impediment of any kind? So here is again implied practice. Many people ask, well, what do I do about my negative thinking? What do I do about my worry? What do I do about my regret or hurt feelings? And the answer is this: tapas. Tapas means heat. But in practice, what it means is we turn the mind from its habituated streams of thought into something auspicious. And again, in Gita, Krishna says, japa is the king of yogas. Oh, that rotten son of a... How could... Oh, no, Jim. Oh, Namah Shivaya. Yeah, whatever. Oh, Namah Shivaya. We don't have much control over the first thought. Sometimes one will just arise and bushwhack us. But that doesn't mean we have to go down the rabbit hole of repeated negative thinking. And again, don't try to think about the elephant. Don't try to think about its long trunk. Don't try to think about its big tusks. Been very successful. You will not be free from negative thinking, saying, I'm not going to think about that rotten so-and-so. I'm just not going to think about the horrible thing that he said to me. I'm going to just not do it. That doesn't work. Turn the mind. Constantly fill it with the name of the Lord or the image of the Lord. If that is too hard, seva. I don't care what your problem is. Go be of service to someone else. See how that works. Many of us think, oh, I just need to vent. So my poor husband, my poor wife, my poor best friend. And then what we want to do is for them to be sympathetic. Oh, yes. Oh, that must have been terrible. Oh, yes, your boss is just horrible. And we get kind of a sick pleasure out of being in this self-pity. It's not healthy. It's not healthy in the end. We want to be aware. Aha, I'm really angry at so-and-so. Notice it. Now, let it go. Do your best to turn your mind to the Lord. Any thoughts on this? Next idea, or the next verse.
Kintu pritchami devesha kinchit sandeha nirnayam sarva papa shayankaram sarva kalyana vardhanam Devarcha navidhanam tat kidrisham bhavati prabho. Lord of the divine ones, yet I ask of you somewhat in the nature of the removal or settlement of a doubt. Lord, of what nature is the sacred precept relating to the worship of the deity, which causes the destruction of all sins and increases all good or happiness?
Yeah, so somebody's going to be able to tell you what ritual, what practice of worship, what upasana should I do that is maximize good and remove all my kleshas, my afflictions, my papa, my sin. Sin here, we don't mean, oh, I touched an untouchable, or if you're Catholic, you ate meat on Friday, or any of that kind of stuff. Here, sin, anything that we do, either in the world of the physical action or mental, that serves to grossify the mind, make it more dense, make it more thick, more self-obsessed, more egoistic. That is bad. So let's see what the Lord gives him as a solution. Going on.
Section 2. Atmaiva paramo devaha. The self is the highest deity.
Yes, like it. So here he's going to give the same teaching that we get in Narada Bhakti Sutra. Great scripture on devotion. And the Parama Prema, the supreme worship of the infinite, is the same as Atma Brahma, revelry in the self. I think it's Kena Upanishad, which says it is not that which you worship here, it's yourself. Going on. How many more verses in this section?
We just started a new section.
How long is it?
About like 10 verses.
Okay, we got another 5-6 minutes. We'll see what happens.
Maheshwar Uvacha. Nadeva Panduri Kaksho Nacha Deva Trilochana Nadevo Deha Rupohi Nadeva Chittaru Pridhik Akritim Akre Trimam Anadhyantam Devanam Deva Uchyate. The great Lord Shiva said, the lotus-eyed Vishnu is not the deity. The three-eyed Shiva is also not the deity. For the deity is not incarnate in the body, nor is the deity in the form of the mind. The splendor which is not artificial and which is without beginning and end is called the deity.
Yes, so what splendor, what prakasha, what light is that? Which is that never rises, never sets, which is always there. It's not the murtis, the forms that we may worship. In the beginning, of course, there's value in worshiping God as other. But in the end, it's not that which you think it is out there. It's your very self. The mind abiding in the self. It's the highest worship. Next verse.
Ajnata Devatatvanam Akaradhya Janam Kritam Yojanadva Nyashastakshaktasya Koshatva parikalpate. For those who have not known the essential nature of the deity, the worship of form and the like has been prescribed. To one who is incapable of traveling a distance of 1 yojana or 8 miles, a distance of 1 krosa or 2 miles is provided.
So, here, the scriptures enjoin us to worship God with a form. In Gita, Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, okay, what's better, worshiping God with a form or worshiping the formless? Tell me. And Krishna says, these two paths both approach a person, but worship of the formless is difficult for the embodied. Now, some people interpret that to say, as long as I'm not in Brahmaloka, that means I should worship Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead other than me. Doesn't mean that. When Krishna says embody, it means I'm ego identified. I think I'm my body. And he says, for those, worshiping God with a form is better. So it all has to do with the subtlety of the mind. And this is a great secret. It's not worship with a form, self-inquiry, which is better. They are to be practiced sequentially. The various forms of upasana serve to purify the head and the heart, to sharpen the subtle intellect, so that self-inquiry can be efficacious. Going on.
Shama bodhadibhi pushpai deva atma yad darchate tattu devarchanam vidhi nakarascha namarchanam. Know that as the worship of the deity in which the divine self is worshipped by the flowers of tranquility, knowledge, and the like. Worship of the form is not worship.
All right, it's 9. So we'll take this verse up again next week. What number is this one?
We got 20.
We're doing 20, right? Okay, so we will repeat 20 next week. All right, Monday, yes. And by the way, those of you who do your Avaduta Gita on Thursday, there will be no class this Thursday. I have family coming to town to visit. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.